Have you ever heard of a town that just disappeared? Not over decades, but practically overnight. Today, we re-diving into one of America's most baffling mysteries, the story of a community that vanished, leaving behind only whispers and questions. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a real place with real people whose homes and lives were erased from the map. So, where was this town? And what could possibly make an entire community pack up and leave in the blink of an eye? Let's travel back in time. Imagine a small, tight-knit town nestled somewhere in the vast American landscape. It had a main street, a local diner, maybe a single gas station. Kids played in the streets, neighbors knew each other by name, and life moved at a comfortable, predictable pace. It was a picture of classic Americana. But one morning, the sun rose to an eerie silence. The mailman arrived to find mailboxes overflowing. The milkman found full bottles sitting on doorsteps untouched. The schoolhouse was empty, the general store locked tight. It was as if every single resident had simply evaporated into thin air. No moving trucks, no farewell notes, just nothing. What could have happened? This is where the story splits into a labyrinth of theories, each more compelling than the last. The initial investigators were stumped. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of a natural disaster sweeping through. In many homes, half-eaten meals were left on tables, and personal belongings were exactly where you'd expect them to be. It was like a scene frozen in time. One of the first and most enduring theories points to a secret government program. In the mid-20th century, during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. government was involved in countless clandestine projects. Could this town have been sitting on a strategically important resource? Or perhaps it was an unwilling test site for a new, powerful technology. Proponents of this theory suggest the residents were forcibly relocated, their memories wiped, and the entire operation covered up under the cloak of national security. Imagine being told you have to leave everything behind right now for a reason you'll never understand. It's a chilling thought. Then there's the environmental disaster theory. This one is less cloak and dagger, but just as terrifying. What if a silent, invisible killer was creeping through the town? A toxic leak from a forgotten industrial site, or a naturally occurring phenomenon like a pocket of poisonous gas seeping from the earth? Think of Centralia, Pennsylvania, the town that had to be abandoned due to an underground coal fire. But in our mystery town, the threat wasn't smoke and fire. It was something undetectable. Perhaps a government agency discovered the imminent danger and orchestrated a swift, silent evacuation to prevent a public health catastrophe. They may have chosen secrecy to avoid mass panic. Let's venture into the more bizarre possibilities. Some locals from neighboring areas whispered stories of strange lights in the sky in the days leading up to the disappearance. This, of course, opens the door to extraterrestrial theories. Was this town the site of a mass abduction? A case of a UFO getting a little too curious about a small slice of humanity? While it sounds like science fiction, eyewitness accounts, though often dismissed, can't be entirely ignored. The idea of a cosmic event being responsible is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Another theory, and one that feels particularly human, is that the community orchestrated its own disappearance. Perhaps they were part of a fringe group or a cult with apocalyptic beliefs. Maybe their leader convinced them that the end was nigh and they needed to retreat from society to a prearranged, isolated location. In this scenario, the vanishing act wasn't an abduction or an evacuation. It was a choice. A deliberate, collective decision to step away from the world. This would explain the lack of struggle and the seemingly planned nature of their departure. They didn't flee, they simply left. But how could an entire town keep a secret like that? It would require an incredible level of coordination and loyalty. Every man, woman, and child would have had to be in on the plan. This makes it one of the most psychologically complex theories. What could bind a community so tightly that they would unanimously agree to erase their own existence? Over the years, explorers and mystery hunters have tried to find this lost town. They've scoured old maps and followed faded rumors, searching for any physical remnant, a crumbling foundation, a rusted-out signpost, anything. But the landscape has a way of reclaiming what belongs to it. Roads become overgrown, buildings collapse into the earth, and memories fade. The official records are strangely blank, as if the town was never there to begin with. Town charters, birth certificates, property deeds, all gone. This lack of a paper trail is what makes the story so compelling and so frustrating. It's one thing for people to disappear, but for all official documentation of their existence to vanish as well? That suggests a level of influence and power far beyond that of a small community. It points back to a deliberate, methodical erasure. So what are we left with? A ghost story? A cautionary tale? Or a genuine historical enigma? The truth is, we may never know for sure what happened to America's lost community. The people who lived there have become phantoms, their stories swallowed by time. But the mystery itself serves as a powerful reminder that not everything is as it seems. There are still corners of our world and our history that hold deep, unanswered questions. The story of the town that vanished overnight is more than just a mystery. It's a reflection of our own fears and fascinations. Fear of the unknown, of powerful forces beyond our control, and fascination with the idea that you could simply walk away from it all. Whether it was the government, a natural disaster, aliens, or the residents themselves, one thing is certain. On that fateful night, an entire piece of America was lost forever. And all we can do now is wonder why. What do you think happened? Drop your best theories in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think is the most plausible explanation for this incredible vanishing act. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this dive into one of America's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.